made in 1992, was made and beloved by all, especially children. This place was where dreams came true and animation was, well, very great. There were a lot of memorable characters, for example Mordecai and Rexy, but today's characters are two children living in a Cartoon Network-filled world. These are Gumball Watterson, the blue cat that lives in an amazing world, versus KO, the zero that becomes a hero. Both of these Cartoon Network characters are very powerful in their own right, but which one will win a brawl? We'll figure this out today. But first, let's talk about our first opponent, KO.
For many years, kids have basically been the mascot of Cartoon Network shows. We have Steven, Finn, the Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Edd and Eddy, and even the kids next door. But we're going to be focusing on one hero in particular, and his name is KO. KO always wanted to be a pro hero as a kid and idolized people like Mr. Gar. And after a lot of battles and training with pro heroes, he became the #1 most powerful hero in his world, in the future at least. But we're focusing on Kid KO for this battle. So what can Kid KO do? Well, he can do a lot. KO has fought and defeated multiple of Boxman's robots before, who have shown to have wall to small building level to even building level feats. KO can also casually harm and defeat his nemesis Boxman. What's so special about that? Well, I don't know. Boxman survived his entire lab exploding, being around large building to city block level. And Boxman also survived being launched to the sun and being stuck in it for 3 months and getting launched back, being around small town level to city level. KO can also defeat and fight his father and scale to TKO's power. Who's TKO? TKO is basically KO's negative emotions formed into a very powerful person. It's kinda complicated, but TKO has some city block level to even freaking small town level feats that KO is able to scale to, like destroying the plaza, casually launching Radicals into space, which is around city block level. He's so powerful that he makes Mr. Gar scared, who is implied to be the strongest character in their universe. But what's TKO's full power, you might ask? Well, I don't know, star level. You see, TKO one time punched Boxman so hard that when he hit the cool sun, it split in half. A feat that was calculated to be star level. And before you say this is inconsistent, other characters in the OKKO series have done cosmic to planetary level things. Like when KO survived getting sucked into a black hole, or when Radically shook his entire planet and made a huge crack on it, being calculated to be large planet level. So KO being around star level to planet level is actually more consistent than you think. But what about speed? How fast is KO? Can it match up to his legendary strength? Well, actually, yes, it can. KO has dodged lasers and lightning before and can even dodge bullets. He's also ran around the planet in just 10 seconds, a feat that's around 1% the speed of light. KO also has Toon Force-like durability. The same Toon Force-like durability allowed him to survive being sucked into a black hole, and KO's own durability should be on par with his strength, putting him at star level. And since KO can take attacks from Rad and survive being sucked into a black hole, this is pretty consistent. KO also has an ability called the Power Fist, which is basically a chi-based fireball that he can shoot out of his hand after charging it up, and it can do some really good damage too. KO can also perform Battle Cry, which basically just shoots out a huge sound wave, and he also has an ability to create 2 ghost heads, which can aid him in battle. KO can also use his super mode, in which he basically turns blue and, well, has stronger attacks, and has the abilities I just mentioned earlier. And last but not least, his Toon Force. What's so special about his Toon Force? Don't a lot of cartoon characters have it? Well, yes, you can say that, but KO's Toon Force is pretty insane. He can leave the cartoon with his Toon Force. He can survive being melted to goo and come back out of nowhere. He can have his soul eaten by Enid and, well, stay alive somehow. I do not know how that works. KO's Toon Force also, well, improves his strength as well. Like the time he punched an Invincicrate so hard, it caused a mini nuclear explosion, which is pretty insane. He can also create volcanoes and suspend himself in midair. And he can also shoot words and letters out of his mouth like projectiles. For weapons and arsenal, KO has a candy bar. What's so special about a candy bar? Well, it gives KO the ability to turn huge and run around the planet in seconds, and give him many strength boosts and durability boosts as well. He also has his power bands, which boosts his strength, and his carbon bands, which do that as well. What about experience? Well, KO is actually a pretty experienced fighter. He's trained with his mom for years ever since he was young and was trained to become the best hero in their verse at the end of the show. But he has fought many experienced fighters before, and even his own father, who was a top-ranked hero back in his day. For Feats, KO has beaten Lord Boxman multiple times and thwarted his plans to take over the plaza and basically destroy it. He's defeated his father in a fight, managed to control TKO, and has fought in multiple enemies throughout his entire series, and these are really impressive feats for a character that has 3 seasons. He's also kept up with Sonic and has fought on par with him while in a robot form, which was technically not him, and he helped Garnet, Ben 10, and Raven from Teen Titans Go defeat a guy known as Red X. What's Red X? I don't know, some guy that wanted to destroy all the multiverses and took over and defeated multiple Cartoon Network characters. Yeah, this kid got some pretty good feats. However, KO has some pretty bad flaws. He's young and naive, and due to his childlike nature, he's gotten into multiple bad situations before, and even traps. KO has also shown to be able to be easily outsmarted, and has been defeated by multiple people before. Even characters on par with him have defeated KO before. However, KO is still a very powerful character, having star-level strength and durability, insane Toon Force, and abilities to boost his own strength. KO may not seem like it, but this dude is actually very, very insane. But can he beat Cartoon Network's basically mascot? Let's see.
Every second that you see is 24 connected pieces. Thank you for coming, thank you for staying, thank you for watching the show.
Gumball is a cat that lives in the city of Elmore, usually spending his time hanging out with his friend/brother Darwin and going on crazy adventures in the city of Elmore, which is a weird place. But there's more to this cat than meets the eye. First of all, he can bust through entire solid bricks with his bare body. He can also seemingly teleport and enter people's dreams. He can switch body parts with people, and he has fought many demons and ghosts in his lifetime. As you can see, Gumball has a lot of crazy abilities, but how many crazy abilities does he have? Well, it's quite unknown how many. This blue cat seems to be able to do a lot of endless cartoon insane things. But when it comes to how much damage they can do, it's somewhere around building to city level. For example, when he was able to drive nothing with his entire family. He can turn into people such as Zack or Jealousy to make him more combatively angered and more level-headed. He can easily scale to people such as Penny, who are easily capable of surviving lightning bolts. Speaking of lightning bolts, now we have to get into the most complicated thing about Gumball, his durability and regeneration feats. Both feats are insane. Gumball can take an absurd amount of damage. He can survive being squashed, stretched, blown up, electrocuted, anything, and he can just regenerate from it all. Although sometimes it is inconsistent, for example when he gets knocked out from normal punches. But that doesn't matter, because his durability is still insane. But what about his weapons? First of all, he has his gaming console, which can turn his universe into a video game. He also has his karate outfit in the gaming universe that can let him obliterate fire hydrants, cones, and humans. He also has a lucky hat that makes him insanely lucky, although this hat is made out of tinfoil and can be destroyed. But you won't be even able to hit him that easily with this hat on. He has a bow arrow and a potion that can make people fall in love with each other. He has Sussy's Google Eyes, which I'm pretty sure once he puts on someone makes them high. He can use his tongue as a weapon, or as he calls it, Tung Fu. He has Cereal, which can turn him into a buff man that can be on par with Tina, who can destroy entire buildings. He has Apple Juice, which allows him to punch multiple times while going in a sonic speed. He has a hockey stick, a tennis racket, a gun that can shoot tennis balls. He can shoot giant fireballs. He has a paint gun. He has water balloons. And he can jump up in the air and increase his air time by jumping on other people. But his 2 most powerful weapons are the Cartoon Network notebook and the magical remote. This remote can do almost anything. It can warp all fabrics of reality, and it's almost unstoppable. That is, it's almost. It can be broken and it can easily lose battery. The notebook also gives Gumball the ability to warp reality, and he can create characters of his own, and they come to life, although he doesn't know how to use the notebook that much. He's shown to run so fast that he can make time slow down, and he's ran around cities in seconds. But the probably most damning of all is that he survived the Big Bang. He can also stop time and rewind it. Despite how powerful his powers are, he does have some weaknesses. First of all, he's more of a coward than a fighter, and he's childish. And his durability feats can be inconsistent at sometimes, like really inconsistent. But despite those weaknesses, he's still one of the most interesting Cartoon Network kids out there. But can he defeat Cartoon Network's top hero? Let's see.
Nothing to do with me. You must be a different Penny. Must be a different Gumball. What are the chances? Gumball.
Well, it's time for these two to battle it out. But which one will be the best Cartoon Network kid? We'll figure this out today. This is Ranting Royale. It was a normal day in Elmore. There were some cloudy skies coming by, but other than that, it was pretty normal. Gumball and Darwin started to take notice of this, wondering, where was the crazy, insane adventure today? They thought it was just going to be a normal old boring day. That is, until something came out of the sky and blew up half of their neighborhood. This was no meteor or asteroid, as Gumball thought it was. No, it was a person, and said person started rising up from the ground.
What is that?
This person was KO. He rose up all the way and started doing slide kicks. He slide kicked all the way into Gumball's house.
Hi, I'm KO.
Dude, you destroyed like half of my neighborhood.
Say, you kind of look like one of Boxman's evil robots.
One of Boxy Man's little what now?
Before Gumball could say anything else, KO threw a fire fist at him, knocking him back and sending him flying.
Fight!
Gumball then eventually landed on the ground and got knocked out, but then he got back up. He was hurt for a little bit, but then he saw KO coming after him, and then he ran the other direction. He tried to run away from KO, but KO finally caught up to him and started punching him and punching him. That was until Gumball got out one of his weapons, the tennis ball gun. He started shooting at KO, and it critically hit KO and hurt him. But then KO started dodging a few of the tennis balls, and then he punched the tennis ball gun out of Gumball's hand. But then Gumball got out some cereal and started eating it. He then turned into a buff adult. KO was running after him, but then Gumball grabbed KO and flung him up into the air. Gumball then turned back into his original form and hopped up the air, kind of similar to Mario, and then he started punching KO. But then KO got the upper hand and grabbed Gumball. KO then started punching him while they were still airborne and threw him into the ground like a crater. Gumball's head popped off, but then Gumball immediately put his head back on. He then looked up and saw KO coming towards him, similar to a meteor. He then started screaming, but then he realized what to do. He put on the tinfoil hat. KO then came at him, similar to a meteor, as I already said. But then, it turns out that a stork came out of nowhere and started hitting KO in the face. KO then fell on the ground, following with a random explosion that came out of nowhere. Fortunately for KO, he survived this explosion. He then ran up to Gumball and tried to hit him, but unfortunately KO missed every single shot. But then, Gumball pulled out a tennis racket that he pulled out of nowhere and started swinging at KO. KO tried to dodge, but he got hit by every single swing. Gumball then swung really hard, causing his tinfoil hat to fall off, and then KO accidentally stomped on it.
Oops!
Gumball then lost a lucky hat, but he still had some other tricks on his sleeve. KO then threw a big fireball at Gumball, but then Gumball charged up his energy and blew a big fat fireball at KO. And then both fireballs collided and caused a ginormous explosion that destroyed a building. KO's hair turned blue and he started to do his power cry. Two little heads popped up and twirled around KO. And then KO yelled so loud and sent sonic waves rushing towards Gumball. This then rammed Gumball and sent him flying all the way up the air. Gumball was falling through a really high height, a mountain level height at best. Gumball knew he would have to do something and do something quick, so he immediately grabbed his magical remote and pressed rewind. It rewinded time all the way back to before KO turned into his battle cry mode. And then he immediately got punched by Gumball before he could do said battle cry mode. KO was confused how he got there so fast, but before he could do anything, Gumball started throwing punches at him, but KO immediately blocked them. KO finally decided that he was finished fighting and started to turn into PKO, the perfect KO. While he was transforming, Gumball was confused. He was wondering what was happening. He then grabbed out his magical notebook to try and stop this, but then a giant wave came out. KO was done transforming. He was PKO. The notebook got caught on fire, and it was destroyed. Gumball was really scared. He was wondering what he should do. And then he thought of it. He stopped time, and then he time traveled. But little did he know, before he could stop KO in time, KO broke the fourth wall, and then grabbed Gumball, making Gumball break the fourth wall as well. And then he started punching Gumball and punching him and punching him. And then he threw Gumball up in the air, and then did a final move on him. This final move was a ginormous fireball. This was enough to knock out Gumball. But then he threw Gumball back into the cartoon universe, and he jumped in himself. Gumball was on the floor, really badly wounded, looking like he was easily able to be knocked out. But then KO walked away. Gumball's family immediately ran up to Gumball to see if he was okay. Gumball then immediately got back up. Gumball then, in a panic, tried to see where KO was, but KO was nowhere to be found. It appears that KO decided to spare Gumball. Gee willikers. Gee willikers. No, Gumball. Oh well. Well, right off the bat, KO takes speed and powers, since he does have better and more powerful powers than Gumball. But Gumball takes weapons and regeneration. Both of these boys can do incredible things, from their insane Toon Force to their inhuman reality warping. But if I were to say who reality warps better, I'd say Gumball have the better reality warping powers and KO has the quite better Toon Force. While these two are great at what they can do, Gumball is just more consistent when it comes to reality warping, and KO has just really insane Toon Force, although Gumball can make it quite equal with his insane Toon Force. These two can't cancel each other out. Well, that is until KO doesn't turn into PKO, the perfect KO, or TKO, which are both star level, something that would overwhelm Gumball. While Gumball's regeneration feats are insane, he still can be knocked out, resulting in KO having the win. So while KO won't be able to really kill Gumball, he will be able to knock him out to the point where he can't regenerate or get back up. Looks like Gumball got KO'd. The winner is KO.